Assalamu alaikum. Ramzanul Mubarak.
Walaikum assalam, sir.
Participants, can you open your camera, please? Please, can you open your camera?
Yes, sir.
Good. Thank you very much. Please quickly open your camera, please. So today, actually, আজকে আমাদের আমি একটু বাংলায় বলি আজকে আমাদের যে রিসোর্স পারসন উনি কিন্তু ভেরি মানে খুবই একজন ইম্পর্টেন্ট এবং খুবই রিসোর্সফুল একজন ভদ্রমহিলা এবং উনার ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড হচ্ছে উনি আমাদের গ্লোবাল ফোরামের চেয়ার ছিল ইন্ডিয়া থেকে এবং উনার যে এরিয়াতে তার যে দক্ষতা সেটা কিন্তু আমাদের ইভেন আমার জন্য খুবই ইউজফুল হবে আমি সেশনে থাকছি তো আপনারা একটু মানে একটু সিরিয়াসলি ক্লাসটা করেন এবং প্রশ্ন করেন উনি প্রশ্ন করার সুযোগ দিবে বাট সবাই খুব অ্যাক্টিভ থাকেন ওই যে মাঝে মাঝে ব্রেকে রিসোর্স পারসনরা বলে আপনারা শুনতে পাচ্ছেন বা আপনারা বুঝেছেন আপনারা সাথে সাথে মানে রিয়াক্ট করবেন তো আমি এখন শুরু করতে যাচ্ছি ঠিক আছে আমাদের বোধহয় আর দুই একজন বোধহয় বাকি আছে মিল্টন বাকি আছে কে Okay, so Anita Di,
Anji.
yeah, can we start now?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So good morning, assalamu alaikum, and Shubha Sakal, or I don't know in Hindi very well. So today we are very delighted to have with us our global chair, Dr. Anita Madhak, and she's the managing director of Open Spaces Consulting. So dear participants, today we are very happy and grateful to Dr. Anita Madhak for this session and from the institute and also from myself and the executive committee of IMCB. I'd like to express my gratitude to Dr. Anita Madhak for taking this session today. You are already, dear participant, you are already given the slides, PowerPoint presentation. And this session would be 90-minute session. So before Dr. Madhak starts, I'd like to take a few minutes to, say a few words about her. So he's basically, a very senior and experienced HR consultant, if I, shortly say, and but with a very special areas. For example, tarot cards reader, which is, I learned today, which is a very special thing. And I like to request Didi, please say, take 5 to 10 minutes on this particular issue. I think it's very interesting for all of us. So Dr. Anita did her MBA in HRD from Xavier School of Management, Jamshedpur. And then she did PhD in managerial leadership from psychology, Punjab University. And as I said, he was the former chair and president of IMC India. Professionally certified leadership development coach for over 15 years. And she is a trainer, a global professional, HR system expert, people person, creative thinker, and writer. Academicians of repute and behavioral scientist and experienced trainer. Dr. Anita also coaches CEOs, senior executive and professionals who face significant challenges in navigating fast-changing environments. And Dr. Anita's practice includes individual clients in several countries and varied professions. She is also a frequent speaker and teacher of coaching skills around the country, as well as a lead instructor for several workshops for the corporate. Prior to setting up Open Spaces Consulting, Dr. Anita was Dean School of Business at NMIMS University and SP Jain Center of Management in Dubai and Singapore. She had a long stint in HR with a large diversified group in North India and an FMCG measure, like fast moving consumer goods, that particular sector, which is very interesting for many of us. And she has conducted more than 200 workshops and, even around many hours of coaching with organizational leaders. And she is accredited in the usage of the Leadership Circle, MBTI and FIRO B, Thomas Profiling, Belbin Team Roles, Erickson Coaching Framework, SRRM Master Trainer, and a fellow of Shumida's Academy for Context. And he is also an expert and insightful tarot cards reader with a wide clientele for the tarot connections in Singapore, Australia, and New Zealand, and also Dubai and all over India. Anita Di, we are so delighted to have a very, wide area of, your expertise, especially in human resource development leadership. And I would especially request you to, share some of the things even during this session. Of the session, we have actually focusing on entrepreneurship development, HR management consulting, but please also do take some time on those issues. I think that would be great learning for the participants. So with this, I like to stop here, and I like to invite our great lady from India, and she is the, we are very proud of her performance in ICMCI, and from India, being a female, she was leading the global forum. So I like to give big hands, and I like to invite you. Please, Didi, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Zakir Bhai. I'm really happy to be here. I did spend during my younger years, so right now it's a different story, but till up to about 10 years ago, I was closely involved with the consulting professional association of consulting. For almost 18 long years, I was member of Institute of Management Consultants of India. And during that period, I was holding office in the Mumbai chapter. I'm speaking right now from Mumbai city, which is my home city now. And I was president of the Mumbai chapter for several years. Then I was also the honorary secretary of the Indian Institute of Management Consultants of India. And then I was also the president of Institute of Management Consultants of India. During these 18 years, I thought I should also network globally. So I started going for the ICMCI forums. So everyone is familiar with with International Council of Management Consulting Institutes. So I spent a good number of years working in that body. I was, part of the ethics committee to start with. We were writing the professional code of conduct, which you are familiar with. We wrote that one out. Then later on, I was a part of the professional standards committee, which was chaired by Brian Ing. In the ethics committee, it was chaired by Peter Sorensen, who was later on to be the chairman of ICMCI. In the professional standards committee, I was working under Brian Ing, who was from UK. And he was chairing the professional standards committee. And then when he became the chairman of ICMCI, I became the chairman of the professional standards committee. So today, if you see the ISO standard on management consulting, we wrote the first version of that, which became then a CEN standard. CEN is the European body for standards. And then much later, it's now become an ISO standard. And then once Brian was finishing his term as the chairperson of ICMCI, he said, Anita, why don't you stand for the role of chairman of ICMCI? So I stood for that election and had a lot of support. And I was very thankful to have been given the opportunity to serve the consulting profession as chairperson of ICMCI. During this period, if you hear of ICMCI, there was a lot of breakthrough strategies we created, which changed the course of ICMCI. And what you see today is an outcome of that turning point that was achieved during my tenure. But to cut a long story short, I just want to say that I have trained and certified consultants in over 50 countries in different ways. So this is my favorite subject for training next to HR. Even today, I continue to take the course on advanced certificate program on business consulting, which is held in India by the All India Management Association. So I continue to lead the sessions there. And so therefore, I just thought I will create an offering for you here today, given all the past experience that I have, not only as a consultant, last 20 years almost as a consultant, and also as an academic, and also as having been the past chairperson of the Institute of Management Consultants of India, and the past chairperson of the International Council of Management Consulting Institutes as well. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm looking forward to the questions if there are any. So please feel free to raise your questions at any given point in time. And I will be opening the chat window. And in case there's any question, I will take, I will share my PowerPoint after the session is over. So because there are certain things I may not have the time to talk about. So I might skip some parts, or I might, create certain other things which I might add on to while I'm speaking. So for that reason, I don't normally send my PPT in advance. I always send it later, as soon as the session is over, I will email it to you. All right. Thank you so much for understanding that. So this is a little bit about me today. And yes, if you ask me, every consultant has that one question, who am I, and what is my identity as a consultant in my professional role? When you're working in a job in an organization, you always have a job description or a role or something that defines who you are. You could be an HR manager, or you could be a marketing person. But when you're a consultant, there are thousands of consultants and so many domains of consulting. There is no one fixed, way in which you call yourself. So I defined my consulting identity for the last 15 years as being a coaching psychologist, because by qualifications, I'm a psychologist. I have spent time in industry, I've spent time in academics, and now I'm consulting. But in my consulting is all about being a psychologist. I do one-to-one coaching sessions with CEOs and top management and women leaders in organization. And therefore, I call myself a coaching psychologist. So that is my consulting identity. And today our topic is about how to start your own consulting business, right? And one of the biggest questions that comes, the first question that comes is, what is my consulting identity? So I'm a coaching psychologist, and sharing from my own experience, I would like to say that I was dealing with human beings, so many aspects of human beings. And I discovered that sometimes my understanding of the human context is incomplete. There is some larger, data which I'm not able to access. We will administer psychometric testing instruments like MBTI, FIRO-B, Leadership Circle. These are all psychometric testing instruments. In case you don't understand, feel free to ask me what these are about. But we would administer the psychological profiling instruments, and then we would understand the nature of the person through those scientific tests. And they would tell me that a person is introverted or extroverted, or person likes to learn through data, or he likes to learn visually. So it tells me so much about the person, but I felt that that knowledge is not complete. It's not giving me a lot of perspective. So for that reason, sometime in 92, 93, I started doing something called tarot card reading. It was an accident, but it came to me as an act of destiny. And I continue to do that also because that allows me access to subconscious data, and data which is not visible about a person. So when you're coaching a person, it gives you insight about who that person is. So there are many projective techniques I use, which and tarot is one of them, that helps you access the subconscious data in the person's mind, that helps that person understand what is the next level of leadership for them. So that is one. The other thing I've recently added about 3 years ago to my coaching psychologist identity is that I do believe that physical and body health is a very important part of my mental health. I may be having anger issues, and I may be having some really difficult problems in my ability to manage, and I cannot work with it unless I also look at the food and the nutrition and everything, that the exercise that I do. So physical body is very important part of my persona and my identity. So I also added health and nutrition coaching to my repertoire. So now I deal with whole person coaching. It's not just emotional and psychological and mental aspects, but also the subconscious comes in, and also the physical body also comes in. So it is a whole person health that I deal with, whole person well-being, whole person emotional intelligence, whole person intelligence. So I call it integrative living, how to live your life in an integrated manner to align yourself with your own sense of purpose. So that's a little bit about my story. But today's topic is how to start your own consulting business. And I do hope that there are many of you here, you're registered for this postgraduate diploma in management consulting. So first of all, welcome to the world of consulting. I was looking at the participant profile, and I found that some of you are already, trainers and consultants in your own way, and you're coming here to get an additional qualification or a professional perspective to what you're doing. So for that reason, congratulations. And I do hope that many of you are also intending to start your own consulting business. Even if you're not planning to set up a separate company for consulting, this session today will be of help to you, to help you understand how to go about conducting yourself as a management consultant in a more professional manner. So that's what it is about. So I spoke about consulting identity. And I want to begin with something called the joy of consulting. And if you look at anybody who's been a consultant for a long time, and I've been doing consulting for now almost 30 plus years out of my 40 years of professional practice, because even as an academic, I was also doing consulting. So if you look at my own journey of consulting, there have been many ups and downs. There are many trials and tribulations. There are many client issues. There are many problematic things. When you work in a big company, you always have some support systems that help you through those problematic issues. But many of us work as single consultants, or we are large consultants, but we've got small teams which are associated with us. Sometimes it is very easy to lose the sight of how much joy consulting is. And I wanted to, remind you that consulting is actually very, very joyful experience. It is an enjoyable experience. At the end of the day, after 15 years, I would say, would I have gone back to work in an industry or in a business school? And I'm so glad that I'm being a consultant. There have been moments when there are lots of frustrations. There have been moments you feel very lonely, that there's no one to support you. But then each of those is a big challenge that you encounter and you carry forward. So that's something about, if you go to business schools, it's the most preferred choice. It's the most preferred choice. If you ask 80% of business schools graduates, at least in India and also in Europe, I'm aware of, they will prefer to take up a career in management consulting. The reason is that they feel that here they can, carry on with certain set of values, certain set of ethics, certain set of beliefs. They can become subject matter experts. Their knowledge can become very much relevant, because as a consultant, these are all the things that you have to do. And life is quite exciting as a consultant. So this is satisfaction at the highest level of Maslow's need hierarchy. You must have heard of Maslow's need hierarchy. If there are ever any questions, please raise your hand. There is a hand raising tool here. I will stop the session and address your question. And there is when you get this presentation, you will find there is a link here to an article. Is consulting the right career for you? And I think everybody should read this article, because the questions it raises, that if you are prepared to answer those questions and they work for you, then only you should enter consulting. Otherwise, it's better to stay in organizations or better to stay in family businesses. There are some kind of personalities that are more suited to consulting and some that are not. Because if you can take on the challenges, that is the best thing. Intellectual curiosity is always, I love the company of other consultants, because when I have conversations with them, any topic, any professional topic, they're always up to date. They always have some insight. There's always a good conversation, intellectual conversation that can be had, because ultimately consultants are what we call knowledge workers. Problem solving ability is high. If you have good problem solving, you don't think of problems as a problem and say, oh my God, why this problem came up. You think of a problem as a challenge, something to be solved. Then by all means, consulting is for you, because this is the place where you'll be constantly solving not only your own problems, but also problems of your clients. There's a need to help others because you're helping other clients do something. And if you feel you want to operate from that center of being service oriented, then consulting is right for you. It's a professional's work ethic. As a consultant, you can be true to your profession. Sometimes in organizations, you have to compromise here and there, do things which are not very professional because the situation demands or people demand or it's your job demands. But as a consultant, you can be true to your professional work ethic and also a work expertise. There are many intrinsic and extrinsic rewards in consulting. At the end of the day, if you have money in the bank, you're able to have clients in the pipeline and servicing and enough clients, I think there's nothing more joyful than being an independent consulting. So some of the questions you have to ask yourself before you take the plunge. All of you are young people. I saw your profiles. You're very young and you're very, ready to take a plunge into consulting. So these are the questions you need to ask yourself. Do you enjoy small projects? Sometimes you will be having a series of 5 or 6 small projects. Sometimes you will be having one large project and no time for the small things. So do you enjoy doing small projects and large projects alike? Because there are people who say, oh no, I prefer only small assignments. I don't want to do very big, complex work. And there's some people who are very happy doing. If you're happy doing both, then you will make a good consulting, take the plunge. Does criticism bother you? Because if criticism bothers you, then consultants are the first ones to be criticized. And so you have to have some kind of a thick skin. So when people criticize you, you are able to respond in a logical and rational manner and not take it personally. Does rejection bother you? Because you will be putting in 10 proposals to 10 different clients and maybe only one proposal will succeed. And maybe not even that, maybe all 10 will get rejected. You have to learn how to handle it. Can you manage times when there's little or no work? Because as a consultant, there are periods where you will have not much work. What do you do with yourself? Or sometimes there will be overload of work. Do you enjoy working with different kinds of people or only few kinds of people? Do you enjoy helping other people solve problems? Can you sell yourself and your capabilities? And can you hold yourself accountable to some deliverables that you have committed to? Yes, Mr. Saim, please ask a question.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. It will help if you switch on your camera.
Because I am using, okay, I need to.
Yes, please tell me.
Yes, can you, I am
Yes,
visible right now?
Yes, I can see you.
Yes. So the thing is that this is a very interesting question to me. Can you sell yourself and your capabilities? This is a really interesting question to me. So say for example, I'm ready to sell myself for this arena. But the thing is that finding the right customer is very difficult. So my question is that with having all sorts of my expertise, how best I can find the real or potential client to sell myself. That's my question.
Okay, so a little later on in my PowerPoint, you will have one section on the how to manage a client development process. How important it is for every business to have a client development process, and we'll talk about what is a client development process. But very often, many people I know who come into consulting, they say, I find very difficult to sell myself. I can't talk about myself. I can't ask for business. I can't tell people, please give me some work to do. They should invite me to do the work rather than me, sell myself. Because if you wait for people to invite you to do good work, then it will never happen. You have to learn the art of being able to project yourself and sell yourself on social media, through publications, through all kinds of things. So if you will just hold on to your question, when we come to the section on client development process, it will probably get answered. Or at least some ideas you will get.
There is, vice versa thing, because at this stage, I can't sell myself like a shelf item, But people will not find me that to get the job done by me. So this vice versa thing. So I will expect that you will explain something more later on.
Well, all I'm saying is that if you cannot sell yourself and you find it difficult to talk about yourself and project yourself in groups and in forums, then perhaps you should think twice. Either you should acquire that capability and start thinking in terms of how do I project myself and how can I be less conscious, self-conscious, or whatever is holding you back from doing that. So either you should, work with that and project yourself a little bit more, or you should say then consulting is not for me. I can't go out there and market myself. So,
Okay.
This is a very important quality of consultants, the ability to sell yourself. Otherwise, you will be very frustrated because you will think that, I'm setting up business. I've got a website. I've got some publications. Now people should come to me and give me work. No, that never happens. You have to go out there and get the work. And there is a client development process I will be sharing with you. Yes, okay. So I hope that has addressed some of your questions. So some of the myths is that consulting is easy. Consulting is definitely not easy, let me assure you. Individual consultants are their own boss. You say, why do you want to start your consulting firm? Because I want to be my own boss. But let me be very clear, if you have 5 clients, then you have 5 bosses. Right now, I have almost 7 or 8 clients, and each one is demanding my time. Each one is sending me messages. Each one has got emails. I have to reply to all of them. So you actually have a lot more stakeholders. If you're in an organization, you have one boss and that's fine. But when you have many clients, that many bosses and that many stakeholders, so each have their expectations. Consultants are very respected. That may not be true. That's a myth. Consultants are definitely, they have to earn a respect. Consultants have to earn respect. Today, they have to earn that respect. They have to conduct themselves in professional manners, in ethical manners, and then only they get the respects. Consultants have a lot of free time. That's not true. Consultants don't have any free time. They're always running around, always on the phone, always traveling. There's hardly any free time. I have to visit my sister in North America, but I cannot do that because I have to take a month off and go. How do I keep my business closed for a month? It's not easy to keep your business closed for any period of time. So because you have no free time. Consultants make a lot of money. Well, I don't know too many consultants who are making too much money. I usually know consultants are making just enough money that, any good, reasonable, good manager would make, unless you find a way to hit a jackpot. Be prepared that you will make good money. There'll be enough money in the bank. You'll make good money, but it's not like pots and pots of money unless you find a way to make a jackpot offering. And clients will come knocking at my door if I make my expertise known. That is not for sure. That will never happen. You may have a very good social media presence. I'm doing a lot on social media, but clients don't come from that. You may have a very good website, but clients don't come because you have a good website. You may have a great marketing campaign. Clients don't come as a result of that. Clients come as a result of networking, as a result of your word of mouth publicity. Someone has recommended you. Clients come as a form of referral. And if you're consulting for things like Asian Development Bank or World Bank, there also the first assignment you get, you will start establishing your reputation. And based on that reputation and based on the relationships that you establish there, your work with the World Bank can continue. So, or with Asian Development Bank or any others, some kind of quasi-government bodies. So clients don't come knocking at your door. That is a very innocent and very naive notion. So for consultants, there's always a work-life balance problem. And we are always on the move because there's only work and there's not much life. Or when you're at home, you're thinking of work, and when you're at work, you're thinking of home. So that conflicts are always there. Sometimes, some things that are not up your street, and you're asked to do things that you're not capable of doing. Only yesterday, somebody said, Anita, I'm looking for a new HR executive. Can you help me find somebody? And it's not up my street. I'm not good at doing recruitment work. So I said, look, this is not my work and I've never done it before. And I don't ever try. Every time I've tried, it's not worked. So I cannot do this job. So you have to know what is it that you can deliver, what is it you can't deliver, because there is a term in consulting we call scope creep. You have a scope of an assignment, which is so much. And, when you start the project, it seems like you're going to spend maybe 10 man days or 100 man days on it. But later on, as you go along, more and more things get added, more and more deliverables get added. And before you know it, you're doing 5 times the amount of work for the same amount of money. So you need to know how to manage that scope creep very well. There are some professional pains. Often you don't see the result of your labor. I've done training program on, say, performance management skills. And after the program is over, I have left the organization. How that manager has gone there, gone back to his job and implemented the learning, I am not in touch with that. I'm not connected to that. So therefore, we don't sometimes see the results of our work that we do. Then the client system has their own politics. They have their own games, they have their own politics, their own camps. And as a consultant, sometimes you get caught in that. And if you take sides, you take side of one camp versus another, then it's not professional because you lose your objectivity, you lose your outsiderness, which is why you are hired. So you cannot take sides and you have to stay on the outside and you have to walk the tightrope whenever there are 2-3 camps in the organization. You have to find a politically correct way to move forward. There's a nice book by Martin Keane which says how management consultants steal your watch and tell you the time. Because they will take your watch, they'll tell you the time and they'll send you a bill also for it, saying that I spent 1 hour of my time on finding the time for you using your watch. So therefore I need to be paid for it. So sometimes consultants have a bad reputation because they have done such things. They have not added much value and they've not added value, yet they've gone through the motions of doing an assignment. And without looking at what's the bottom line value addition, they've sent a bill. So we need to be careful not to fall into that trap. We need to really, really be conscious of what is the value I am adding as a consultant. And sometimes there are unintended consequences of your work. You planned it to do something, you plan to do some training intervention, for example, or you plan to do a feasibility study, and there were some factors that you did not take into account for some reason, or some assumptions with which you worked. Those didn't hold good. And after a point, you didn't realize, but things didn't pan out the way they were. So you have to be careful of the unintended consequences. So I want to ask, so each one of you needs to ask the question, why do you want to get into consulting? What is your identity? Who are you? How do you want to project yourself as a consultant? So I call myself a coaching psychologist. That is my identity. Everything that has to do with coaching and with psychology, I embody that. So why do you want to get into consulting? I will recommend you to watch this film on YouTube. There is this film, there is a link on this screen here. And if you click on this link, you will get to a very 4 or 5 minute film, which says something about what is your ikigai. Ikigai is a Japanese term for purpose in life, or purpose in my career, or purpose in my job, or what am I doing? What is the role I have to play? So, little exercise in that film, it asks you to write down all the things that you love doing. I love doing, numbers. I love doing statistics, or I love doing field work. Or another person was sitting here, he said, I love meeting and networking with people, and I'm very good at that. So what do you love to do? What is it that gives you enjoyment? So you need to write down that. You need to think and articulate, I love doing this. Then the second question is, what are you good at doing? Okay, I love meeting people, but I'm not very good at following through on my relationships. So that's not it. I have to be good at everything about that. So what do I love doing? I love doing numbers. I love doing statistics. I love doing reports. What do you love doing? And what are you good at doing also? And what is it the world needs? In the world of consulting, okay, I'm an HR consultant, and I say, okay, world is for me, my CHRO is an organization, Chief Human Resource Officers and organizations. So what do they need? What kind of support they need, and that I can provide. And then the fourth question is, what is it that the world will pay you for? What can you be paid for? Something that will be, when all these questions are answered and you find the common ground, you will find what is your consulting identity. You will find your consulting identity when all these questions are answered. So it's a 4-minute film on YouTube. I would like to recommend you to see this film and just follow through with the questions. There are a lot of questions in each of these circles. There's not much time for me here to put you through the exercise. Otherwise, we will get lost with our presentation here. I now want to talk about, once you have defined what is your identity, what is your niche in your consulting, what is it that you're going to be calling yourself, then we need to set up a firm. We need to set up a consulting firm. So now I want to spend a few minutes talking about how to set up a firm, a consulting firm. What are the things you need to be careful about? The first thing is you have to find a good name. Now, sometimes the name is always a challenge, because some people need to understand the name. The name needs to communicate who you are and what you're offering, and people need to be able to understand that. So some things need to be avoided. For example, in India, we have a company called Delhi Cloth Mills. It was based in New Delhi. Then later on, they said, no, we are not Delhi, we are all over India. So they call themselves DCM. So DCM, not many people know what was the original version. And later on, DCM is just something people associate with an organization, which because they moved into other domains, not just cloth, they were also into sugar and many other businesses. So the word Delhi Cloth Mills became obsolete. They changed their name to DCM. So people don't really understand what it was. What is the name, meaning of that name? So you should choose a name that represents you and your identity and what you wish to do, regardless of what city or town or place that you come from. Similarly, there was a Minneapolis mining company. And later on, they said they were not a mining company anymore, and they called themselves 3M. We all know 3M today is a big, large organization in the US. But Minneapolis and Minnesota Mining Company, it was very geographic, very limited in its definition. So you need to choose a name that represents who you are and represents something about the domain. So my company's name is called Open Spaces Consulting. And when people ask me why open spaces, it's about the space between your ears, in your brain, in your mind. We open that up. We open your mind, we open your brain, and we allow you to explore possibilities and potentials. So naming the firm is very important. Your own brand you need to build. I can do a full one-day workshop on helping you build your personal brand and your personal identity. You need to build your online presence. In today, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. If you're not on these, then you're not a consultant, or LinkedIn, or Google My Business. So many social media are there. And you need to also look at what is the legal entity you want to create and other legal formalities. Every country's laws are different. In India, we have sole proprietorships, limited liability companies, public sector companies, private limited companies, and you can be an NGO or a non-government organization, or you can be a charitable company under the Societies Act. You can be a Section 25 company, which is not for profit, but corporate identity. So you have many options in terms of what is the legal identity you wish to establish for yourself. So it's very important to brand yourself and the organization. And I'm going to skip this. I'm going to send you this. When you're looking at brand power, you have to understand what is meant by brand and what is my personal brand. These are some of the things that you need to keep in mind. When you want to build your online presence, now here I'm answering the question that came earlier from Saim about client development. Your online presence is a good source for you to, depending of course on your business. If you are in a more complex business, then maybe online is not the right place to be. But it's a good source for you to build what we call a lead generation process. Especially in my kind of business, I get a lot of leads from online, being present online. In my Facebook, there will be some inquiries. How did you do that? And how do we do this? How do we get in touch with you? So it's a single lead. Sometimes those transpire into business. You can convert them. Sometimes it doesn't, but it's a good way to generate leads for your business through online inquiries. Today, we have a lot of areas in which we need to look at online presence. First, you need to build an email list. Then you need to have search engine optimization. You need to create value online. You need to demonstrate that you've got content. You've got to put your content online and share that content and say that this is something that I stand for. You need to be active online at least 3 or 4 times a week. You need to post something. Analyze your results. Are the trends in favor of you or they're not in favor? You need to adopt new forums. You need to have social media presence. You need to make a website. So all these things are important. 16 aspects of online presence. Producing content, personifying your brand. If you follow me on Facebook or on LinkedIn or on Instagram, you will see I personally make a lot of videos, short videos, half-a-minute videos, 1-minute videos, and I keep putting them out. I make a lot of content. I send them out. A lot of posts are coming out purely as a professional. So you have to be the brand. It is your brand. Unlike when you work for a company, in a company, when you're working as a manager in a company. Your personal brand means nothing. But when you're a consultant, you are the brand and you have to personify the brand. So today, if I'm doing a health coaching consulting, I cannot afford to be seen eating the wrong foods. I have to be the role model. I have to be the role model for the things that I stand for. So very important to personify your brand. Experiment with online advertising and research the influencer marketing. There are some people online who are influencers. So if someone endorses your product, then it's all the better. Be competitive, develop relationships, show up where your audience is, and automate your processes to the extent possible. All in all, consultants are known by the reputation that they carry. The reputation is very important for a consultant. I remember walking into Larsen & Toubro when I just started my consulting business 15 years ago. I walked in, the CFO of Larsen & Toubro, he told me, Anita, your reputation precedes you. I've heard so much about you, and now I'm seeing you. I know that what you stand for. I don't need to ask you all that. I don't need for you to establish your credentials. So your reputation should establish your credibility. So even in IMC Bangladesh, I know there is a gentleman, Mr. Saidul Haq. He's a very dear friend. For many years, I've been meeting him in the ICMCI forum. I know his reputation. I know when he carries himself, how people look up to him, because his reputation is impeccable. Similarly, your reputation needs to be completely above question. And so there is ways in which people manage their reputation. Today, there are reputation management consultants also, unfortunately, but yes, that's also. In India, we have a lot of people here who call themselves image management and reputation management consultants. You'll find there is even a professional association of image management here today. So beyond online reputation, the word of mouth publicity, what are people saying about you? You need to know that. What is the role of referrals and testimonials? So people are referring you and people are testifying about you. That's important. Relationship management is important. Network management is important. Building your social capital. Your network is your social capital. And the best way to establish reputation is to give your clients and stakeholders a good experience. That is the best way. In everybody's life, there are people who will defame you. Everybody's life, not you, not me, no one is spared. There will be people who criticize you and people who are your enemies and people who will speak bad about you. So you know that you have to be prepared that minute you start becoming successful. In India, we have a great industrialist, Dhirubhai Ambani. He's no more, but he was the one who set up Reliance Industries. And he said, now that I've got enemies, it means I'm becoming successful. Now people are becoming jealous of me and people are becoming my enemies and they're defaming me. That means I'm successful. So be prepared as a consultant that when you achieve success, there will be some people who will spread a bad word about you. And it's called gaslighting. So they might confront you in the open with baseless accusations, but they speak so loudly that the world starts listening to them after a point. So you have to learn how to deal with them, either ignore them or minimize them or take them to the court and say, you cannot defame me or whatever. Dealing with trolling and cyber bullies. There's a lot of bullying online also. A lot of gossip and slander, sometimes open insults. So you need to be prepared that this is going to happen and how you're going to deal with it. And make sure you carry yourself with dignity and not give into a fight when someone is defaming you. You call me a name and I'll call you a name. That doesn't work. So this is my slide which tells about the legal formalities of setting up the firm, but it may be different in Bangladesh because it's a different country and you have different laws. But in Indian laws, these are the options. Proprietorship, limited liability, public company. not-for-profit, private limited, partnership, own name, NGO. There are certain laws that govern us called Shops and Establishment Act. We have a GST Act, General Goods and Sales Tax Act. Specific licenses depending upon your areas of business are required. You need to understand your taxation and accounting policy in your country. If it was my country, I can tell you more about it, but that will be irrelevant to you. You need to adhere to the labor laws, whatever they are. You need to be protecting your intellectual property. Find ways. I don't know what the copyright laws are in your country, but in our country, there are many copyright laws which are there. And we need to manage contracts. This is something I have a program agreement with every client. Whether it's an individual client, whether it's a corporate entity, I will have a program agreement for my protection. Some things like non-compete, non-disclosure clauses, etc., etc. And you also need to know that I hope nobody ever has to wind up their business, but sometimes you feel that, okay, what is the procedure for winding up your business if it comes to that? Are there any questions at this point? Okay. So now I want to talk about how important it is to acquire knowledge and skills for any consultant. First of all, what are qualifications and what are certifications? Okay, now, many of you at the end of this program will get a postgraduate diploma in management consulting. Then you also have to apply for a certification after that, which IMC Bangladesh will give you and which will be endorsed by ICMCI. Now, there are two different processes. Getting a qualification is different from getting a certification. So a qualification is an act of passing an exam that you need to be able to call yourself a professional. So if you're a doctor, you need to pass a doctor's exam. In India, we call it MBBS, Bachelor of Medicine, Bachelor of Science. So in India, you have to be a minimum in MBBS if you want to practice as a doctor. You have to be a Bachelor of Arts, LLB, BA, LLB, if you want to be a lawyer. You have to pass the chartered accountants if you want to be an accountant. So there are qualifications. And in consulting, it's usually expected to have the highest form of qualifications in the domain. They don't expect you to be just a bachelor's, they expect a master's, a doctoral, and postdoctoral degrees, academic specializations and certifications. They expect you to be because you're a knowledge worker. And when you're a knowledge worker, you're expected to be highly qualified knowledge worker. So qualifications is one place. Some elements of a qualification. And then you need a certification. A certificate is not a certification. That's one thing. Let's understand a certificate is a piece of paper. It could say anything. But a certification is an assessment of your capability to be a professional in whatever domain that you are. So a certification is a formal attestation or confirmation of certain characteristics of a person or object or an organization. And the confirmation is provided by a form of an external review, education, assessment, or audit. So certification is different from a qualification. These are some of the key elements of a certification. So in addition to being qualified, you also need to be professionally certified. And these are some of my certifications which I wanted to share. So I've just put the labels and the badges of those certifications. Each profession has their own gold standard, platinum standard, silver standard. Some certifications are not well known. Some certifications are extremely well known. I came across the other day, somebody was saying, I'm a certified fraud analyst. So, which means that wherever there is any fraud happening in any company or any place, I'm able to look at the data. I'm certified to look at the data and specify whether a fraud has happened or not. So there are different kinds of certifications for different professions. And as a consultant, as a management consultant, you have to look at your domain. If you're a financial consultant, then maybe it's good for you to have a chartered accountant and an ongoing certification from there. But as a management consultant, we are certified management consultants. So these are some of my present and past certifications that I have possessed. And these are coming from different places. So there is a global professional in human resources. There is a SHRM, that is the Society for Human Resources Management. I'm a senior certified professional. So there are many other certifications that are available. As a coach, I am International Coach Federation. I am a professionally certified coach. I've reached the PCC standard. There are different standards. There's a ACC, PCC, and then MCC standard. So there are a lot of benefits of having a professional certification, because you, more than anything else, you get a lot of credibility. And usually professional certification is valid for a period of 3 to 5 years. Some cases 5 years, like if you're a project management institute, you're certified project PMP certified, then it's I think valid for 4 years. But now in CMC case, it's valid for 3 years. At the end of 3 years, you have to recertify one more time. And there's a recertification process you have to go through. So unlike a qualification is for life. Certification is temporary. Some soft skills of a consultant. Some of the soft skills are there. You need to have strong problem solving skills, analytical skills. I once asked a lot of people, so what is the one skill a consultants need to develop? And someone said listening skills. Consultants love to speak, but not listen. So listening skills is very important. And these are some of the other skills. Ability to present data in an effective manner in a short period of time. Good interpersonal skills, good time management skills, business development skills. These are the hard skills of a consultant. The soft skills are there, which are about who you are and your capabilities. But the hard skill is like business development, very important. It's both a hard and soft skill. How to write a proposal is a hard skill. How to do your pricing is a hard skill. What kind of report writing skills you have is a hard skill. Data analytics, managing finances, profitability and sustainability. And lastly, domain-specific technical skills is a hard skill. All of you are familiar with the ICMCI competency framework. It's available online. And this also tells you about what are the skills and competencies of management consultants. It's available online. A much more detailed version is available online. And this is also going to be updated by the end of the year. So there will be a new version of competency framework. They are planning to add competencies like digital fitness, which means how digitally agile you are. You have, ability to deal with the digital aspects of working. And they're planning to add sustainability. So every consultant needs to understand environment, sustainability of environment, carbon credits and climate change and all of that. So I'm not going to spend much time on this because you're already probably already familiar with it. So I want to stop here for a short 10-minute interview I have recorded, with a person called Kevin Dias. He runs his own consulting company here in Mumbai. I wanted him to share his experience as a consultant. And he's got a very wide range of experience. He's a successful person in a short period of time. He's built a lot of, good practice. Are there any questions before I talk about this interview? So this is to introduce. Yes, please tell me. Any questions?
No, madam.
No questions. Thank you. It saves a lot of time. So this is something about his biodata. He has, HR, he's human resources person. And he started his own consulting firm called Share Your HR. And he has led a lot of mergers and acquisition integrations, organization design, cultural transformation. He has done a lot of work in the domain. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to now share a short written interview I have recorded with him. So please listen. And hello, friends. We have a wonderful visitor here with us today. He's a consultant like just all of you and all of us, and he's just one more consultant. But he's not just another consultant. He's one who, in a short span of 3 years, who has made quite a success of his organization and reached a size from 0 to 200 employees. And he is Kevin Dias, and he is the CEO of an organization called Share Your HR here in Mumbai. So Kevin, we have an audience of young people. Some of them are slightly older. All of them wish to take the plunge to set up management consulting business, just like you do.
Yes.
Mostly they all wish to grow their businesses and be successful and profitable, just, you know, in short span of time, like you have been successful. There are many unknown challenges that lie ahead, and it is for this reason we'd love to ask you a few questions that would, you know, kind of share your journey with us.
Please go ahead.
So Kevin, Share Your HR is a global consulting firm, and you provide comprehensive HR solutions to clients, both in people practice consulting and also in HR shared service domains.
Yes.
So now, as a long-standing consultant, you have successfully led M&A integrations, organization design, cultural transformation, change management initiatives. So it's been a long journey over 3 years, so many things you have done. Could you share some of the brief milestones of your consulting firm, Share Your HR, since inception?
Sure. Firstly, thank you, Anita, for giving me this chance, and to all the future consultants who are hearing this. I think let me answer this question in 2 ways, because I thought it is important for me to share how those milestones worked for me as a person first, and then how it worked as an organization. So I was like most of us. I worked in the organization, 25 years of experience, global, kind of HR experience, and then the decision to move out from that and be an entrepreneur, start a consulting practice, was for me actually a very tough decision, because for 25 years of your life, you're not thinking in that type of manner, and neither at home or anywhere else you have entrepreneurial skills to look at and learn. So it took me, what I did is, the first thing that I did for myself was I realized that I had to mentally unlearn. And so I actually spent a couple of months reprogramming myself to, thinking like an entrepreneur, to knowing that there is no salary check at the end of the month, to knowing that things are going to be uncertain, to knowing that it is going to be driven by me, irrespective of how things are going to happen. We do not know how things are going to happen, and I have to keep the faith, keep the vision. So it's going to take a lot of me on my own self, mentally, to be strong in those areas. So the first milestone that I did for myself was unlearn. Reprogram myself to an entrepreneur. In that journey, just like this interview, I spoke to a few other entrepreneurs just to help myself get a hang of what it is to be really an entrepreneur. So they helped me with their views, and so that was a foundation. From there was the question how to start, and right from what should be the name, what should I be doing. So I then went back, and as a lot of my mentors have told me, you go back to your strengths. So I started with what I'm good at. And some of the things that you mentioned as what we do in Share HR is primarily what I am good at. So I said, let me play to my strengths. And so the first milestone was to think about what is it as an organization we're going to do, and build that initial capability. The second thing that I set as a milestone was how to form it. And who should I have? And so you're seeing 2 logos here above me. So Share HR, I was approached by Karma Management, who's been there in the business for over 18 years or 16 years. And we got them to invest into the organization so that It comes with a set of companies, it comes with a set of infrastructure. So that gives you a boost. You're not worried about those things then. So you're more worried about, or you're more concerned about how is it that you deliver. So that's the second milestone. The third was to get a customer. So approaching customers that we know. So again, I went back to my strengths, to the people I knew, because it's very important to get somebody who believes in you and ready to take that leap as a new consultant, saying that, yeah, I trust you. Yeah, this is an assignment, you do it. So I went to people who I knew, and with the grace of God, I mean, there were people who said, yeah, Kevin, let's do this, small assignments, but that was fine. I needed to get off the ground. So that was the second milestone. The third milestone was to get a set of customers to move the business forward. I was not so worried about at that stage in terms of, am I meeting my costs? Is this in line with what I attempted to do? I thought the most important thing was moving forward. Also was the next milestone was, should I also branch off into international, because that was a lot of my strengths. And fortunately, again, there, my second customer was an international customer based out of Middle East. So for me, that was a big thing for Share HR, because now we were not only doing work in India, but we also had to deal with working in the Middle East. The fifth or sixth milestone was defining vision mission. Where is this organization needs to go? Because I believe that while I'm titled as CEO, actually my role should be the chief vision officer throughout the tenure of the company, because it is that vision that needs to carry. So and then I realized that I have to set a target. So we set the first year target for ourselves. We did know that the P&L would probably not show black, it may show red, because there are initial costs and you're not covering costs in the initial year. So, but we set a target because it's important to achieve. So these are the milestones that I set for myself, Anita.
Yeah. So you love HR, yes, definitely.
Yes.
And you also do a business. So if one were to separate the two, what is it that's more exciting? Is it the actual delivery of the projects and assignments you undertake, or is it the managing of the business? So as an entrepreneur, what is it that excites you more?
I think the first thing that excites me, to be very honest, is the fact that earlier I used to work with a company and did a work for that company. But now the big kick is that I have companies now who are entrusting the HR roadmap to us, and we are able to now affect so many different companies in different ways based on the knowledge. So that's the first kick. And the second kick is really honestly is the delivery, in terms of, it's the skin in the game is when you actually do it, and then there's the end result and the client says, hey, wow, thanks, yeah, you were able to do it. I think these are the two kicks that I get.
So it's all about the HR and the impact that you create.
Yes,
with the work that you do. So it's not so much about the business angle. That doesn't give the kick. The kick comes from actually delivering impact and good projects, good services.
To answer your question on that one, Anita, I right at the beginning set some basic standards for the company. So I do understand it's about the what, but I focused more on how. So the what, anyway, we were going to do. How we do it, I think, defines who we are. So for my initial team that I got, I kept talking about the how, internal processes, what is it that we will never ever do in a particular way. So it's more to define that, and also how we will deliver. So from a business point of view, being an organization that people respect and will come back, or we'll talk about it at least, and to somebody else and say, guys, have you heard of these chaps? Check them out.
Yeah.
You may want to do something. So that feels very important for me.
True. This is the reputation
so
that you
over
build.
the years, I realized that is one of Net Promoter Score in a way, but.
So true. Okay, so tell us some of the challenges that you had in growing and scaling up operations, and what course corrections, what strategies, what all did you do to meet and surmount these challenges? I'm sure it must not have been an easy journey.
Oh my God, when you talk about the word challenges, there have been enough and more. So sometimes it's difficult. It's where do you start? right? So challenges that I faced were right from the beginning in terms of, so when you're going to a customer, right, for the very first time, there's no collateral with me already. There's no PowerPoint presentation. There's no Word document. So right at the start, so that was the first thing. And I'm not a PowerPoint guy, and you don't think about all these things, right, when you're working in a company. But now that's the very first element of image building. So first putting the collateral in place was the first set of challenges. Hiring the first set of people for myself as a team, getting people who were like-minded to leave the current jobs that they had. So I have people who are ex-TCS, I have people who are ex-Wellspun, I have people. So from different organizations, fairly established. And now you've got to leave that and come to a startup. It's a leap of faith, really. And so how do you attract that? That was my first, challenge that I faced. Then was the element of client in terms of how do I close a deal? I did not know how to close a deal. I just kept talking about what I can do and my knowledge. So that was the next. And then finally, the whole element of running the business, the cash flow. So you got the elements of payments, recoveries. So many a times you're not so worried about raising the invoice on time, ensuring that the payment has come on time. So you got to ensure that your cash flows are okay. Because that was one of the different definitions of the how, that we will always pay salaries on time, we will always pay our vendors on time. So then that was the next challenge that I faced to ensure that these things are in proper order. And then finally, the business environment. So if you see last 3 years, Anita, one of those have been with COVID. So that kind of threw us at the deep end. I mean, we had to really innovate, really think of how we are, positioning. How is it that I can be in the first quadrant of services, which is what people need to have or need to take, because otherwise they're really not interested in listening to you. So, so these were some of the challenges that I really faced and had to innovate. There was no other way.
Okay. So that's amazing. At every stage, there's been a challenge in terms of getting customers, in terms of deliveries, in terms of invoicing, cash flow, everything. So now I'd like to move a little bit and talk about, you had this partnership going with Karma Consultants. So what is your opinion on, for other independent consultants, what's your advice on establishing synergistic partnerships with other consultants? Does it work? And if it doesn't work, when does it work? And what are some of the areas in which this doesn't work and you have to make it happen? So it would be nice for us to know from your experience.
Yes. Before starting that answer, I think for a lot of the consultants, it is very, very important for each one of you to think large.
Yeah.
Not about saying that I will just be able to have a good living or something like that. I never thought average or small. I always thought that as an organization that over the next 5 years will become large. Having said that, now you know that that's where your journey is. And so you cannot do it yourself. Your team has to be with you. So it's all about taking the people along. The second is, it is a world of alliances.
Yeah.
Today. Now, all the big guys are also doing it. It's not that it's only you as a consultant who need to do it. Now, then my first advice is to always be strategic, to understanding that whatever alliance I'm doing, is it strategically going to help me in what I am going to set out to achieve? So the first thing that I thought for myself was, instead of going to an angel investor to invest in me at the start, I thought my first strategy was to get off the ground, to have a set of customers that I can go to, open a door for me. And so therefore I found an organization, or rather Karma happened, Pratik and myself happened to chat. And so we had a company who's into consulting, but had a set of customers already in existence. That helped me to start off. So that was the first strategic alliance. So instead of going with an angel investor, I went with an institution who was ready to invest like an angel investor.
Yeah.
And then, of course, with a clear understanding, at some point in time, we will get further investors to invest in the company. Now, in terms of alliances, I've realized one thing is that you cannot do it yourself. And so therefore, it is important for you to choose people who are like-minded because it is your brand. And your brand is defined by the way you deliver and the way the outcome happens. So if you did an alliance with somebody who is not aligned in that fashion, that's going to impact you in your brand. The other element is conflicts of interest. So if the alliance is doing the same work that you're doing, at some point in time, you will reach an element of conflict. So you need to look at where you complement each other, whether it is from a market strategy or industry strategy, or whether it is a delivery strategy. Where is it that you're complementing each other so that both as an organization are able to grow in their individual respects and also together. And lastly, always have a risk document, because just in case things go south, because you're aligning with a person, it's about relationship. And if that person isn't there, and then you got to really relook at that relationship again, what are your risks? Because you will have existing customers who are in that whole alliance, and they cannot be impacted by virtue of what is happening in the background. So this is my advice on alliances and schools.
So forming an alliance is as big a decision as it is to get married, perhaps, you know.
Oh, yes.
You need that much consideration and you need that much certainty, and you need to be really evaluating all aspects to see if it's going to work or not.
Yes, it is. And especially for me, where I had to grow globally. So today when we have an alliance in Philippines, it is about how that alliance has been discussed and what is it that we individually bring to the table for both.
Yeah.
So it is like that. It has to be, you have to keep the heart, yes, clearly there, but you're really working with the mind.
So you can't afford to be very opportunistic and just grab any opportunity and bring an alliance to make that opportunity happen. It cannot be like a one-night stand. It has to be a long-term relationship. That's great. So you talked about the brand, and you know, one of the risks in forming an alliance is the brand, and your brand and the alliance partner's brand has to have some common values and reputation, and you know, so the strength of a consultant is his reputation and his brand, and not necessarily his work. Do you agree with this, that the reputation is more important than the quality of work that gets done? Is it the brand that's bigger? And then what are some of the tips you'd give our audience on building a reputation that works for you? How much do you invest in building that reputation?
Okay.
Yeah.
So firstly, I think that it is not either or. It is both equally important. And I learned this the hard way. So when you start off, yes, it is all about you as a consultant. But that's why in my initial statement, I said think big, because if you have to grow beyond yourself as an organization and not limited to the fact that only I can do so many things, right? And beyond that, then it stops, because there's only so much that you can do. If it has to go beyond that, then it has to start working along with how you kind of actually done the work.
Yeah.
Now, let me tell you this, that the reputation of each one of you and myself helps us get in the door and sign on the dotted line. But the client is really interested in the solution you bring to the table. Is not interested in the knowledge you have and everything. How is that translated into a solution? That has helped me. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
So therefore, it is about the work that you've done after you've gone in through the door because of your reputation. So also for all the people who are listening to this, I think in an initial stage, the brand is you, and how you conduct yourself, the way you talk in the social media, the way you present in forums, etc., is a reflection on the brand. But at some point in time, as you travel the journey, the brand starts being by itself, and that should be the endeavor. That you are there, but the brand now starts commanding its own respect in the market. So how does that happen? And that happens only through the work the brand has done, from the way the people have seen it. So your expertise, skills, the solution and your capability is what you bring, but that has to translate into actions. I think that's how I see this. Also, one point to mention here is that it's important for you to, over a period of time, refine who your target audience is.
Yeah.
Because you start with a little vagueness on that, and that's fine. But over a period of time, you have to narrow that down, because
That niche is very important.
very important, because you are playing to your customer. You
Yeah.
are, that's what this whole thing is all about. You cannot be saying that I'm talking to a 25-year-old guy or an HR guy, but my target guy is the CFO. That's not going to work. If it's the CFO, then you've got to play like the CFO likes to hear, or is able to understand it actually. So I think these are some things that critical. Social media critical, having an advisory board critical. So no matter how reputed you may be, it's always good to have an advisory board, so that the world also realizes that there's somebody else also guiding you in addition to yourself.
Excellent. That's wonderful. A lot of times, independent consultants, they get caught up in building themselves as the brand, which is also a good idea, because sometimes, people have emerged as thought leaders in their own, way, because their personal name and who they are is bigger than the firm that they have started. But, and in my kind of profession, like in coaching, that's more important. But in the kind of larger, more structured work that you do, it's more important for the company to be before any individual brand. So you have to invest in the organization's reputation as much, and the brand as much as,
In fact, if I could just qualify that slightly, I think, over a period of time, a lot of us as consultants want to keep that, and it is there. I mean, you are the reputation. So what I have realized is that suppose you are doing 5 things as what the company does. There are 2 of those that are very close to your heart, which you want to always be involved with. And then there are the rest of the 3 things that can be done by a team. Now, if you're able to define that, you get the element of best of both worlds. So there's the you element, and then there is the brand and the company.
Okay, so last question, and that's for today's session. All consultants need to update themselves, because we are basically knowledge workers, and we are experts, and we've got a skill and a capability and a competency. And any organization that hires a consultant looks to hire that knowledge and that capability. And knowledge changes all the time. So what is it that you do, to stay on trend and not become obsolete in your knowledge?
Firstly, I think, especially as an entrepreneur, and especially as the person who's holding the brand's reputation, your knowledge is paramount. Because at every given point in time, whether you know it or not, the client is testing that. And it is how you have been able to respond that gives you the edge, okay, over any other consultant. So keeping yourself abreast of not only the area in which you're doing work. So for me, for example, as an HR guy, being a person who is analyzes data, etc., doesn't come naturally. But so I looked at how I need to invest myself in design thinking, invest myself in looking at data and coming up with trends rather than my gut feel of my heart and mind. How is it that I can structure solutions in a manner in which it is simple, at the same time delivers to an outcome? Everything needs to deliver an outcome. So whatever you do, outcome based. So constantly upgrading myself. Like for example, in the new wage codes that came up for legal, it was important for us to upgrade myself to knowing everything. Because if I didn't, they can go to somebody else who understands. And so just a small span of time, your reputation is impacted. So it is a constant upgrade at all times. That is individual. The other thing that I kept doing was industry. I kept updating myself on what is happening with the 3 or 4 industries that are critical to me. What's happening to them? What are the new things they're searching for? Are they looking at technology? Are they looking at whatever else as key pains? And constantly keeping myself and creating solutions to those pains. So now that becomes a very important thing when I sit in a room and I'm talking to the person on the other side and I say, you must be feeling like this, right? Maybe these are your challenges. And the moment he says, yeah, how did you know? And that's when you cracked it, because that guy says, hey, this guy is paid attention. So for me, I think it is very, very important to update. Very, very important to keep yourself updated. Not only you, your team, especially your DRs, whoever you have, they must be people who are able to really know what's happening.
So not just domain knowledge, but also your clients and your target audience, their industry and their economic sector.
Yes.
That's also very critical. That's amazing. That's wonderful. So it's been a great time talking with you and understanding how and what it takes for good HR consulting, for good management consulting to make a good impact on their clients. So on behalf of, okay, so I cut out the last part because that was not relevant and we are running out of time. So any conversation with Kevin Dias. I didn't want my session with IMC Bangladesh to be only, my point of view. I just thought it's good to bring one more point of view. Someone who's if there are any questions, please let me know. Another 15-20 minutes, if you don't mind, to complete our presentation to you. So that was Kevin Dias. And I hope you enjoyed the interview. I hope you learned something out of the interview. And I hope that there will be on what it means to build a successful consulting practice. You heard Kevin's story and his life journey. You've heard about that and you've seen what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And similarly, you'll observe many other successful consultants. But let's look at the nuts and bolts of what it means to set up and build a consulting practice. First of all, it's very important to have a strategy and a business plan. If you begin not having an endpoint in view, then you will not get anywhere. You remember that story by Alice in Wonderland, when everyone has read the story of Alice in Wonderland. When Alice lands up in Wonderland and she sees the Cheshire Cat and she says, I'm lost and I don't know which way to go. Can you help me and tell me which way I should go? So the cat asks a question and says, but do you know where you want to get to? So she says, no, I don't know where I want to get to. I have no idea. Then it doesn't matter where you go. Doesn't matter which way you go. You can wander around endlessly. So similarly, thank you, Tariq, for your comment online on the chat. So similarly, if you don't have a plan, you don't have a goal, you don't have a strategy, you will just land up whiling away your time as a consultant, doing whatever comes your way and not really necessarily getting to be successful. It's very important to have that goal in mind. And so developing a strategy, there are 25 questions in this presentation. I will be sending it out to you that you need to answer before you make a business plan. And these are very important questions. What is the nature of your consulting practice? What are the services you are providing? And questions like, how will you acquire customers? How will you retain old customers? How will you get repeat business from customers? Okay, some questions on the financials. What are income projections? Capital requirements. You need to hire a space and you need to set up some computers or whatever, so some requirement is there. So there are 25 basic questions, a very well thought out list. I'd like to just share this with you in the format, in the PowerPoint presentation, which I'll be sending. Then there is a typical outline of a business plan. I'm just sharing this with you because if you're going to start your own consulting practice, it might help you to just write down. Before you even begin, to write down what you are planning to achieve by way of business plan. So there are certain things that you need to focus on. A business plan is only as good as it lives. So it's something you need to revisit every quarter, sometimes every half year, every 1 month, every week, sometimes almost every day you need to change the business plan. And you need to stay on track with the business plan. And it's not something that is fixed or carved in stone. It can be variable. You can keep changing your goals. You can keep depending on the environment. The reason is that planning is important. and it's important to act in a planned manner. So now I'm going to answer the first question that came about attracting and retaining clients. Some basic marketing principles in consulting business. Exposure and recognition are critical. In Hindi, we have a saying which says, "Jo dikhta hai, wo bikta hai." I'm sure you from Bangla, you will understand. What you see is what you can sell. If you can't see it, you can't sell it. So your visibility is very important for every consultant, to be visible, to be out there, to be projecting yourself. So exposure is important and recognition is important part of the marketing process. So if you're going to invest time in building that exposure and building that recognition, then please do, even though it's not direct consulting work, it's not direct what you are doing, but spend time on that exposure and recognition, whether it is speaking in public forums, networking events, whether it's writing a paper and publishing it, or whether it's conducting a webinar, or whether it's doing social media marketing. That exposure is very important. And you need to target a focused client base. So for example, in my case, I'm looking in leadership coaching, I look at CEOs, CXOs, and women leaders in organizations, very focused. I don't want to coach anybody else. And I get the clients I want because I focused on these. In my health coaching business, I'm looking at men and women above the age of 45 who are diabetic and obese, and I help them manage their diabetes and manage their obesity and lose weight. And I know I can do it in that age group because I have done it for myself. So, and I'm qualified to do it. So in your business, whatever is your business, the targeting a focused client base. Not everybody is my client, or anybody who needs my services is a client, or that doesn't work. You have to be focused. Marketing must build the appropriate image and reputation. So it's commensurate with what you are. Cost effectiveness of marketing, everyone knows that you can't spend too much money, but you still have to spend money. Very often, we clients will get, some money, maybe $100 worth of money we get for a particular project. We tend to focus on how can I make maximum profits here. So things are very tight, we need to set aside at least 30% of your income for marketing activities. At least 30% of your income goes in marketing. Just remember that. And another 30 to 40% goes in your staff and other expenses. And then the balance 30 to 30% you can keep as a profit for yourself. So just remember 30% of your income should be spent in marketing. Cost effectiveness and how you maximize the benefit from that 30% is also important. We need to create a client development process. How do you create a funnel for clients? So everybody has to create their own. There is no one formula that works. And believe me, business development, client development is not something you can delegate to. I tried in the first 15 years, I tried hiring business development managers. They were good to support me in my business development effort, but they cannot do business development for you. Ultimately, business development is your responsibility. So you have to have your own system. Some people like to make cold calls, you have a call center person calling up. You have a system of lead generation. Sometimes, you have a website which has a newsletter and people sign up for the newsletter and that's a lead for you. In my website, if you go to www.openspaces.in, you will find there is request a free consultation, and I get a lot of leads from there. So people say, yeah, we want a free consultation. So I say, okay, what's a date and time, and half an hour you can ask me any questions. And in that half an hour, I also pitch for myself. And I ask them about their needs and say, this is what we can do for you. So different people have different lead generation process. Some people have mass mailing. You have a database of client prospects. You send out emails and some people respond. Sometimes, your mass mailers, your agency through whom you're doing mass mailing, they will give you a click-through rate, who clicked on what link, that they'll be able to provide you that. So, there is somebody who's clicked on a lot of links which is embedded in your emails. is probably interested in your business and you make a follow-up marketing calls. So there, everybody has their own lead generation process, mass mailing, advertise, and then you also have a follow-up process. So sometimes there's a big spreadsheet that I make and put it up on my notice board. I say, okay, these are the people I called up on these dates. And 1 month later, I should follow up. And 2 months later, I should follow up. And 3 months later, I should follow up. So use the internet, website, blogs, newsletters, zines for all your marketing effort. And publish in trade and professional publications. That also, sometimes you advertise in these professions. Some people don't like to advertise, but then you can always place an advertisement in a souvenir or a conference. You get good visibility with that. You make exhibitions wherever required. You build related tools. So there's so many ways of creating a client development process. Sometimes just through public speaking and conferences. If you're called and invited as a speaker, you say something and it interests somebody, they come up, follow through, and that converts into a client. That also happened with me many times. So testimonials. So many ways in which you can. So generating a client, so everybody needs to have a process. It's important for client generation to have some kind of a structured approach, not just something random waiting for clients to come as and when they come, and not just going out there and being, grabbing an opportunity and being very salesy. Have a proper system of generating clients. Managing client relationships is important. What are their expectations from you? Are you fulfilling those expectations? Ongoing feedbacks, review sessions. Is this going the way you like it to go? You may feel I've done a great job, but then the client doesn't feel that. Because when we do some work, we do it with the fullest of our capabilities and we feel a sense of satisfaction. But that doesn't mean my client is satisfied. So you have to find a way to manage that relationship. Some 7 practices for managing clients effectively. One is always respect their time. So don't keep them waiting ever. They may keep you waiting, but you don't keep them waiting. Their time is more important. Respect their time. If they've said, I'll give you 5 minutes, don't take 10 minutes. And respect them for get face-to-face to the extent possible. A client who's doing a Zoom call with you is fine in COVID times, but other than that, get as much face-to-face time as possible. Always under-promise and over-deliver. The problem is we are so keen to get an assignment, we will always over-promise and say, hey, we'll do this, we'll do that. And then when it comes to delivery, we are not able to deliver. It happened with me with one. When I was firstly new in consulting, I said, we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll do the other. And then I was not able to deliver. And that was quite a shame. So I had to find ways now to I say, okay, I promised I will do this for you, but as a bonus, I'm doing this also. So they get delighted. Don't spoil relationships by getting petty. Small things like, I spent 10 rupees on my lunch. Don't ask for that reimbursement. Yes, Mr. Saim, you can ask your question, please.
Thank you. Third one, under promise or over deliver.
Yes.
Really a miracle thing to maintain, because whenever you will promise a bit less, then you may not be chosen by the client. They will find another one.
Mm-hmm.
So
a client doesn't buy your promises, he buys you.
Sorry?
And when the client is defining a brief, you deliver the brief, but you deliver more than the brief at the end of the day. So you promise I'll deliver what you want me to deliver, but you deliver more than what he wants at the end of the day. Make it a surprise or a delight item for him. If you start over-promising and you don't deliver, your reputation will go, the client is not going to come back to you ever. So over a period of time, you have to get to a point where you're promising to basic stuff, but you deliver beyond what you promise.
Rather, I should say this will be better, but this will be a better terminology.
Your voice is breaking. I can't hear you.
if I use limited promise. Rather, you hear me right now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So rather saying under promise, it is better to say limited promise, because under, whenever I will say under, I may not be chosen by the client. That is the main thing. He or she will say that, oh, I need these sorts of thing. You were not capable to deliver these sorts of things. This might happen sometime.
My point in putting this down was to prevent people from over-promising.
Okay,
Because
I
if you
understand.
over-promise, I keep telling my clients, this is what I can deliver, this is what can happen. You will find someone who will tell you he can do it faster and quicker. You want to go with somebody who will do it faster and quicker and cheaper, you please go ahead. But they will not be able to deliver. Believe me, this job requires this much of time and this much of effort. Okay, so yes, if you want a quick fix solution, I'm not the person. So then I get the clients that I know I can deliver and I can delight. I don't want a client if the client is expecting me to shoot for the moon and, there's unrealistic expectations out there. Whatever client expectations have to be met. And if you exceed the expectations, that is what the strategy is
Exactly. My point is that.
Yeah.
My point is that I should meet.
Let's not get into the word usage. As long as you understood the concept, it's fine.
Yeah, excuse me.
Overpromise. No, let's not get into the word that was being used here. As long as you get the sense of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Client will choose you for who you are. Client will choose you for your capabilities. Client will choose you for, what you think, what he thinks you can deliver.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Remember that always. It's not about the promises. It's about what you are, who you are. Okay. So don't spoil relationships by getting petty about some word here and there, and then set mutual goals, build credibility over time, be human and transparent. Establishing trust is very important. And so I'm just going to skip the last few slides. Sometimes you have to ask clients for more money because the scope crept. And this happened to me on 2 occasions. In the last 15 years, I've had to go back and ask for more money. I said, okay, we estimated the project to be so much, but now it's more. In both cases, I was able to convince my client to give me more money. So how you're going to do it, you need to be clear how you would do it. Also, how you appreciate clients is important, very important. Managing your finances, your own finances and profitability is important. If you're not going to be sustaining yourself, then you will not be in business anymore. And you need to know what is the right time to exit a project, because every project comes to an end. Every client comes to an end. Sometimes clients come to you repeat business every year for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, but eventually that comes to an end. Every client has an expiry date. Just remember that. Every client has an expiry date and it comes to an end. So try and bring a good ending to your project work, whatever you do. In case of one company, we finished the whole project and we did the whole assignment and I went for the final closure meeting. We're making a presentation and in the middle of the presentation says, oh, we want you to do something more. All right. But that was a surprise for me, but I was ready and prepared to finish that project and leave that client and move on to the next one. So yeah, I'll take questions for the next 5 minutes. If anybody has any questions. Are there any questions? Otherwise.
Yes, I have one question.
I have a question.
Yes,
Excuse me, I have one question.
Yes, Mr. Shabab Mahfouz, you have a question, please ask.
Thank you so much. When you were talking about, to become a coach, there are some professional accreditations. Like one of your slides was you were showing that, PCC or something, that some professional qualifications.
Yes.
If you can tell us a little bit about that how can we become professional coaches like you and get those accreditations?
So first of all, you have to get coach training. You have to get a coach training to start with. And there is an international coach federation, just like there is ICMCI. There is International Coach Federation. And the International Coach Federation has a list of accredited coach training providers. So for example, my coach training is from a body called Ericsson Coach Trainers. You know, they're a Canadian organization based in Vancouver. So they trained me. I did 4 modules of 60 hours. This total of 60 hours coach training is needed first to start with. So there were 4 modules, modules 1 to 4, which was 60 hours of training, which I did. Then you have to have 100 hours of actual coaching practice. Then you apply for something called an ACC accreditation, which is Associate Certified Coach. Okay. Then after you have achieved the ACC accreditation, you have to have another total of 500 hours of coaching experience and 60 hours of coach training more. Then you can be qualified to apply for a PCC accreditation, a professional coach certification. So there's a path to follow. And then once you get to PC, then you get to 1500 hours of coach and another 120 hours of coach training. Then you get to be an MCC, a master's in coach certification. So I haven't got to MCC level. I don't know if I will, but yes, I'm at PCC level right now. So there is a path, and there's an International Coach Federation. So if you want, you can look for their website. It's called coachfederation.org.
Okay. Okay, I'll do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Excuse me, I have one question.
Yes, please. Who's speaking?
Mohammed Jashimuddin.
Yes.
Thank you,
Mr.
madam, for your excellent presentation. I have one question regarding the pricing. Sometimes it's difficult to convince the client regarding the payment issue, though they understand the assignment, but do not want to pay the consultant. That's the issue. How you can resolve this issue?
So yes, budget is always a constraint. You have to decide for yourself what is your bottommost price, below which it doesn't make sense to you to do a job. Okay, for everybody is different. I know here in India, for example, there are trainers, and just you look at trainers, there are trainers who will charge up to 1 lakh rupees a day. 1 lakh rupees a day. There are some trainers charge even more than that, but good trainers, who are many, charging 1 lakh rupees a day. There are trainers who will charge 50,000 a day. There are trainers who, I know one person who's a very good trainer. He's a very good trainer. He's retired from a very senior post in organization. He's a trainer now, and he charges 2,000 rupees a day. He says, I just want to have the joy of training. So when somebody is hiring and they say, okay, Anita is going to charge, say, 50,000 and this guy is available for 2,000, they're equally qualified. Obviously, the job will go to the cheaper guy. So you have to be sure in your heart that when you lose business to somebody who's lesser priced, that you gave your rock bottom price, below which you will not be satisfied. And you know that if you are going to look for clients who can pay you what would be a good value for you, I'm not taking unrealistically, realistically good value for you, then you have to look for those businesses. You have to look for those clients who can afford you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
So you have to, it's a very subjective decision. There's no right or wrong. Sometimes people just call you pro bono and they say, come and give a talk in our company, and I go give a talk for free. I have taken a half day of my time going there. I've taken 2 days of time preparing for it. But I stopped doing a lot of that sometimes. I don't do that now anymore, because when I was younger, it was good for me to do that for the exposure. But now I'm reached a stage, I said, no, I'd rather not do that. I'm going to spend 2.5 days. If someone's going to pay me for it, then why should I do it? So pricing is a very personal, very individual thing. It's a very individual. You have to see what works for you. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm going to hand over to Mr. Zakir Hussain. I'm sorry I took extra time. I was supposed to be 90 minutes, but it's more than 90. It's over
No.
100.
It was great. Didi, this was one of the best, sessions, in the 7th PGDMC. And I'm so happy and delighted. And also I gathered good knowledge during this session. And some of the things that you have explained, 100% is a real life experience, 100%. Like the wording, they are like the participants who are talking about under promise and then over commitment. Actually, you know, every consultant has a terms of reference, and you are delivering up to the terms of reference. But sometimes you have this scope to deliver more. For example, let me tell you one example. One client came to me to do a feasibility study. This is required by the bank. So normally, dear participant, listen carefully. Normally, I should prepare the feasibility report, that's all. But sometimes client may request you that, can you help us filling up the application form, like loan application form, which is not a big deal, but for the client, it may be really difficult. Like putting the cash flow, putting the debt equity ratio and some other calculation and some explanation about the company. So those things you can charge, of course. If you are smart enough, you can charge, you can talk about at the initial stage. But in many cases, I have seen that it was not decided, it was not discussed before, but the client expected that I should help them, filling up the form, and so that there's a forwarding letter drafted by me and they submit it to the bank, which is really very good. So the issue here is you make a commitment and you try to give something, some bonus, that is always better. But if you make a commitment which is, above your TOR, which is something you are saying which may not be possible finally, so don't make this commitment. I think that's what you wanted to actually mean, right? Right. So you make commitment based on the TOR, don't make over commitment, but you can deliver something more. It is better not to, commit something. So under commitment means you are committing at par the TOR, like what TOR is wanting. Am I right, Didi?
Right. Absolutely right.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And have you, do you like to say a few words on the tarot cards issue? Maybe a couple of minutes.
I once went for a personal growth lab. We have personal growth labs, which are just people going away to a small place for 10 days and just discussing life and life matters and doing a lot of introspection. And this was being conducted by a Professor Pulin Garg. He used to be a professor in Institute of Management in Ahmedabad. So he started the session by putting the tarot cards in front, and everybody take one card, go meditate on it and see what the picture tells you about, and come back after 1 hour and tell us what the picture was telling you. So when I came back from that lab, I told my husband, that this is what happened and this is how we started. This was in 1991, long time ago, and no one had heard of tarot cards. I said this was very exciting, very interesting, very fascinating. So because it's a projective, and as a psychologist, I know it's a projective technique. When I'm seeing the picture, what I see in the picture, what you see in the picture, what anyone else sees in the picture, different things, it tells you something about who I am. So I may see a moon in the picture, some may say a sun and a moon combined, whatever. So my husband didn't think of it. When he went to London, he had a day extra and he got back for me a pack of tarot cards. And I said, what am I going to do with this? It was a starter deck. So it was sitting on my deck for a long time on my desk. And one student came by and he didn't get a job that year. I'm just cutting a long story short. That year he was very frustrated because he didn't get a job, and I was guiding his final project when I was a teacher. And we were talking about projective techniques, some projective techniques, consumer research we were doing. So he said, okay, what are the different kinds of techniques? I said, these are all so many types of different projectors. There's a TAT, if you're a psychologist, you'll know TAT, Rorschach ink blot test, sentence completion, so many others. And then there is this tarot card. This is also a projective technique. So he said, what is this? I said, I don't know, I have not opened this thing yet, So I opened it, we sat down and we started and we did one reading for him. There was a set of instructions. You spread out the cards in a particular way and then you read. I was not reading the picture, I was reading the words in the picture. And it made a lot of sense to him. It made a lot of sense to him. It gave him a lot of insight. It gave him a lot of understanding, self-awareness. And after that, there was no stopping. So I started doing more and more. And then I went for some training also. In 96, 97, I went for some training as well. And I've been doing since then. Every week, one or two clients will come. They will ask for a tarot reading and they come. They always come for that. So the tarot reading, actually, I don't read like a psychic or anything. I just look at the person's context, what he's going through, what his challenges are, what his struggles are. And then we ask the cards for some more deeper insights into his mind. So it gives us, and I show him the cards. I say, what does it mean to you? What do you see here? And when we do that, then it tells me something more about him. And then we can give the right kind of counseling or the right kind of advice or the right kind of coaching inputs for him to then find some insight for himself. So people come back again and again sometimes for their sessions. So
Thank you so much.
I'm not a psychic. I just use the cards as a symbolic interpretation of the person's mind. So I don't read something that is not there.
Thank you very much. And can I have just two short questions, very brief? Yeah, number one is, like in India, do you have any management consulting act so far? Any rules or act?
No.
Not
No,
yet.
no. Do you have in Bangladesh?
No. We have been trying. We have been trying to draft, and we are actually struggling because we need this here. Because otherwise, Tom, Dick, Harry becomes produces business card, and he becomes a consultant. Basically, he's a lobbyist or a person who work in the speeding things, bribery things, So these kind of things, somebody having now no experience, no expertise, nothing, no academic background,
Yeah,
academic background may be there, but the academic background required to be a consultant. So this is very important nowadays. And another question is, how is your experience with the government officials in India? Have you worked for the government ever in India?
My clientele is largely private multinational companies because that's where mentally I'm more in sync, with them.
Okay.
I do some work for public sector enterprises, PSU enterprises. So there are some PSU banks for which I consult. I come on interview panels and I, look at the behavioral aspects. I do coaching also there. I do training as well. Some PSU clients I do, but not too many. My own, vibe, my own, because I'm a global person, so my own mind tends to sync better with the private sector and multinational companies.
Thank you. The last question. In India, the government officials, especially female government officials, are they addressed as madam or sir? Is there any culture in India? It's a very madam. Okay.
We don't say sir.
Okay.
We always say madam, dear sir, stroke madam, in case you're not sure who the person is.
I mean, if a person is a man,
if you're not sure that there's a male or a female, you write dear sir, stroke madam.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. And dear participant, do you have any question before we conclude? Okay. So this is really very experience gathering session, and especially I have seen those slides and the symbols that you have used. I think your one is the best ever. We have also, Angelo. Angelo
yes,
from South Africa.
yes, I know.
I requested him to take a session, which was also pro bono, because our course is, online course. So, and Robert was also part of our inaugural session. And I requested Robert to, kind of deploy some international experts, since it's a virtual course. And, also we have some great local experts, but the contents that you have, your one is the best of the best. So thank you so much, Dee. And after this session, can we take just five minutes to talk about something apart
Yes,
from this?
I'll just plug in my power because my laptop is giving little power low. We can take as much time as you want.
No, I think 5 minutes is fine. So let me announce the session is closed. But before that, I must take this opportunity to thank you once again, and we are very grateful and very, very much happy today with your session. So on behalf of IMCB, once again, thank you so much. And we will definitely make a record in our registry about this involvement. And we'll get back to you soon on this matter. Thank you so much. And thank you, dear participants. And today is, I think, sorry. Okay. Thank you very much. So, dear participants, the session is closed now. So, so I leave from this session, then I enter again. Is that okay?
Okay, I'm leaving now. Thank you so much for having me. And Mr. Zakir Hussain, if it is possible to send me a copy of the recording of this session, it will be
Sure.
very nice for me. I
Sure,
will be able to add it to my, all my previous sessions as well.
Sure. We can also discuss over WhatsApp. Maybe I can, after this session, I can make a WhatsApp call. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Didi. Thank you.
Bye-bye.